You might think that the escalating crisis in the Middle East would be the main topic at this summit. However, I've been told that this will remain a very small part of discussions because the issue is so sensitive and EU countries remain so divided on the topic that they couldn't show a united EU front. So instead, they're expected to focus mostly on economic and trade issues. The GCC countries are pushing for visa liberalization for their citizens to be able to visit the EU without a visa, and they're going to be talking trade. Many years ago, there was supposed to be a trade agreement, a regional trade agreement between the EU and the GCC that fell apart back in 2008. There's been sporadic attempts to revive it. I think some people are thinking of this summit as the last possible opportunity that they could get that agreement. However, I'm told don't expect that here today. Perhaps the most noteworthy thing that's going to happen is the presence of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman here at the council. He's going to walk this red carpet behind me in just a couple hours, and he's going to pose for a family photo with EU leaders. That could be quite awkward. That will include French President Emmanuel Macron. And of course, just a couple years ago, MBS, as he's called, was expected to be a pariah on the international stage because he was implicated in the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. His reputation has really been rehabilitated since then as countries worried about alienating oil-rich Saudi Arabia. And so his posing here behind me on the red carpet in just a little bit, I think, will be seen as symbolic of his return to good graces. The other subject that's going to be discussed here today is Ukraine. The EU is pushing for language in the conclusions that would be critical of Russia's invasion and say that the sanctions against Russia need to be respected. The GCC is pushing back on that. Every time the EU adds a paragraph on that in the draft conclusions, the GCC deletes it. And so those conclusions are still not ready, I'm told. They're still negotiating that as we speak because the issue is so sensitive as GCC countries have remained relatively close to Russia. What we may have more agreement on Iran. Both the EU and the GCC are concerned about Iran. Interestingly, it looks like the GCC is the one pushing back against aggressive language on Iran in these conclusions. They have had more actually open dialogue with Iran than Europe and the United States over the past months. And so it will be very interesting to see the language on Iran at the end of this summit in the conclusions.